Game of Thrones fans, Cersei is still alive and is still a very disturbing bitch. Littlefinger has been brutally murdered while whining like a little whore. Sansa and Arya are two loving sisters who basically love each other. They never argue, and they're plotting against the best schemer in the world, Littlefinger. So yeah, they're absolute badass. And nobody can touch them, of course. Jaime fucking Lannister has just abandoned Cersei, and Cersei is evil as fuck again. Tyrion Lannister has survived in a very shocking way after a hilarious dialogue, an epic scene, I may say as well, an epic scene between him and Cersei. Finally, Tyrion has met his sister, and he survived it, even though he was just seconds away from being brutally killed by the zombie mountain. Bran Stark is something more than a potato sitting on a wheelchair, because he is providing very important evidence so that Littlefinger can be accused and killed. Also, in very important news I'm going to provide, Samuel Tarly has finally left McDonald's. He has arrived successfully at Winterfell, and after eating his 10th hamburger for the day, he has spoken to Bran, the visionary, the wizard. And Bran has told him the truth. So we all know, we finally get the huge reveal that Jon Snow, the big reveal is that Jon Snow is a Targaryen. And he's a Sand, not a Snow. And last, but certainly not least, the most fundamental news I have to provide. The wall has finally fallen. And the White Walkers have passed through the wall. And all of the bad guys and the good guys will be slaughtered by the undead zombies. Yeah. So yes, this is the final. This was the final episode. The most important things that happened, and I think it was a very interesting one. We saw many important things. Of course, we witnessed a huge reveal, and I mean the fact that Jon Snow is not a bastard of Ned Stark, but instead he's the true-born son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, Ned Stark's sister. So before I go any further, I want to explain something to the fans that are very keen on the movies, on the TV series, but haven't read the books. And here is a huge information that I want to provide. Well, Jon Snow is technically nephew to Daenerys Targaryen, because Daenerys is the daughter of the Mad King Aerys Targaryen, and his wife, whose name I don't remember right now. Excuse me for that stupidity. So Daenerys, he has a brother, Viserys. He was killed by Drogo, the wild twin of Hamon Murtak. But the other brother of Daenerys and other son of the Mad King is Rhaegar. Rhaegar is brother of Daenerys, and Rhaegar is also the father of Jon fucking Snow. Yeah, so that means Jon is the nephew of Daenerys Targaryen. So they commit incest, but more about that later in that video. I'm warning you that this being the final review episode of this season, it's going to be a very long video. I hope that you're interested in it. So here I'm going to tell you what are my what I think is the most funny stuff that happened in this final episode, and then I'm going to tell you about the major things that will happen in season 8, and that we got a preview from this final episode. So first things first, I want to talk about the epic opening scene between the two major parties. We see one of the very interesting, most interesting scenes in Game of Thrones history of the TV series. We see many characters finally meet with each other. Many interesting, bittersweet rivals from the past now being allies, such as the Hound and Brienne. Of course, we see many interesting and very funny reunions as well, as the reunion between Tyrion and Podrick Payne. Podrick, you know, is the guy with the big cock. And we got a glimpse of that Tolth when Bronn told Tyrion, as Tyrion was being very happy to see Podrick, the big guy, that he can suck his huge dick later. This was hilarious. Bronn was a real, as we call it in Bulgaria, istinski pernički semenin. Bronn was hilarious. He was making jokes about the dicks just from the get-go. In the start of the episode, the final episode, we see one of the most funny dialogues in this season when Bronn was talking with Jaime Lannister. They see the Unsullied, the guys without dicks, and then we got to see the Hawazar, the Dothraki army, and they have, I think, they're anything but cockless. They're one of the most brutal armies that has ever stepped foot in the Seven Kingdoms. So I think the opening scene was great. Then the reunions were very nice. The dialogue between the Hound and Brienne was nice. We see that how far from the stupid villain the Hound has got into. He's now developed into a very interesting character who cares about Arya Stark, of course. He's happy to understand that that Arya is well in her home now. Then we see another great reunion between Brienne and Jaime Lannister. Yeah, it was a brief scene, but it was very powerful. And I think that in the last season, in season 8, we're going to see things unfold. They're going to develop the character of Jaime Lannister. He's going on that path of redemption, and I think he's going to die in the hands of a woman he loves with his heart, not in a sexual way, but as a friend, and as a he expresses to Daenerys and vice versa a very intriguing kind of platonic love. And I think that Jaime Lannister is going to fight head to head with Brienne against the biggest threat to the Seven Kingdoms, the White Walkers. So yeah, it was great to see them finally reunite. Something that really bothered me is the way they're trying to portray Littlefinger in this season. They were portraying him as a stupid man who got tricked, who was manipulated in a very brutal and unsatisfying way by two little girls. And I'm absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, angry, I'm very pissed of this creative decision by the producers, but more on that later in the video. Right now, I want to talk about the scene where we see the two parties talk to each other. Of course, the scene where the moment when Daenerys Targaryen arrived was very nice. I think it was an epic arrival. Of course, Daenerys likes the spotlight. So she arrived with the dragon Drogon. You see what I did there? And she acts as a complete badass. She wants to show off. She is all about power, as well as Cersei. But the difference between the two of them, and I think it's very well expressed in this scene, is that Cersei cares only about herself and her family, and her family right now is herself and her yet to be born child. After she dumped her brother, or I might say more accurately that Jaime finally understood that Cersei is a evil bitch. Yeah. But on the contrary, we see the other queen, yet to be crowned the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, because we all know that Daenerys will conquer the Seven Kingdoms and will sit on the Iron Throne, but not for a long time, I think. Or, I don't know, maybe. No, I'm going to make a very big prediction right now. All of the people, many people, sorry, not all of them, expect to see Daenerys as the conquering hero sitting on the Iron Throne at the very end of the series. No, it ain't gonna happen, guys. It ain't gonna happen. Daenerys is going to be slaughtered by the Night's King, and I'm going to enjoy every sweet bit of it. So yeah, we can see the great some great dialogue that Tyrion provides, but the dialogue which I enjoyed most was in the scene in the room. It was very, very creepy when the zombie mountain, closed the doors, and we can see Tyrion talking to Cersei, and Cersei is getting very pissed off, and Tyrion just goes, "Come on, bitch! Tell the mountain, tell the zombie that looks like some of the guys from The Walking Dead to kill me." But Cersei, we can see there that Cersei is at this point, to just go click and tell the mountain to kill her brother, but she doesn't do that, and it's all because she knows at the moment where Tyrion's head falls, she's going to risk all of her security and her babies. And I think that she's very afraid to lose another child. So I want to return to the scene where we see the two political parties, talk to each other, and Tyrion was great, but Euron was the king of that scene. Euron he's being portrayed as an absolute, I don't know, he's not the villain that Ramsay was, but he's a more cartoonish character. He doesn't torture guys that much, but he likes to show off. He likes to offend people without any meaningful reason. He even risked, or it seemed that he risked the peace treaty to finally come to a conclusion. He risked that. He risked the potential peace just in order to make some funny jokes about dwarves, which Tyrion and Theon thought that weren't funny at all. So I want to give credit where credit is due, and I want to express my utmost respect to the showrunners as regards to that scene where Euron leaves town, and he abandons Cersei, which we later understand that he's been all a plan, all a small part of the big plot that Cersei has come up with. But in that exact moment, when Euron leaves, I think it's legit. I think that Euron is absolutely frightened by the White Walker threat, and he's just shitting his pants, packing his luggage, and leaving for the Iron Islands for good. I want to emphasize on something else. As I mentioned before, I'm very amazed by the acting in the scene where we see the epic dialogue between Tyrion Lannister and Cersei, while Zombie Mountain is lurking in the dark as a zombie from The Walking Dead. It was awesome to see those two chat. They haven't been on screen, the two, fighting back and forth verbally for quite a while, and I was very interested in seeing how things will unfold there. And I can say honestly, absolutely sincerely, that it was awesome. Tyrion was very honest. He sounds like he didn't want to kill his father. It wasn't his absolute goal, but he did it. He did it not only to avenge the fact that he was wrongly accused of killing his own nephew, but he did it because he felt frightened, because he feared that he will be murdered. And here is one of the main ideas that we can see being taught, that life is the one thing that matters. Back in episode 6, in the previous one, Beric Dondarrion says to Jon Snow, tells him that life is all that matters. The war is between the living and the dead. So Tyrion didn't want to kill his father just from the get-go, but that he was wrongly accused of murdering Joffrey just make him snap. And yeah, he did that. He killed his father. But he really mourned the death of his other two nephews. And I think it was an absolute disgust seeing Cersei wrongly accusing Tyrion again of being the one responsible for the death of Myrcella and Tommen. No, he isn't. But I understand why they're trying to get to that point. Even me, as a man who loves villains, who expresses certain interest in seeing bad guys succeed, even I am very disgusted with seeing Cersei wrongly accusing Tyrion of all that bad shit that he isn't responsible for. Problem is, a very huge problem is that it was very, I expected all of that shit to happen. I mean, Tyrion risking his life wasn't, he wasn't putting himself in risk. I think this was lazy writing for the producers. Because Cersei doesn't possess the possibility. She doesn't have the luxury to kill off Tyrion right now. Because Daenerys has arrived, not only with her dragon, but with her army of the Unsullied, the Dothraki, Jon Snow, and then the North. I think the North isn't there, but Jon Snow is the king of the North, so if he tells them, they're going to fight Cersei. So Cersei can't kill Tyrion in that scene. So it was, I think it was it wasn't very good. But something else I want to give credit to is the few brief moments where we see Tyrion and Jaime Lannister talking to one another, and I think it was very good. It was better than their previous encounter in this season, because back then you can see that Jaime Lannister is very angry. He is very angry of the behavior that Tyrion, all the things Tyrion has done. And I think back then we can see Jaime Lannister being manipulated by Cersei. He also thinks that Tyrion has wronged their family. He's trying to destroy their dynasty. And in this scene, Jaime Lannister, I think, has finally understood that Tyrion is the guy that just wants to save people's lives. That Tyrion has got to the idea first that Cersei is an evil queen, that she is a very, very evil bitch that wants to kill everybody but herself. She wants to rule. And in this episode, Cersei tells it crystal clear that she doesn't care about the people. She doesn't care about the ones that she's reigning over. She only cares about herself. And here we are, getting to the next level. And I mean the next level of stupidity. Because this episode, even though being the final one, and with all of the huge expectations as regards to the final episode, the final sequence, the final scene where we see the wall finally falling, and some of the great CGI that was put into this episode, many interesting dialogues, and still it lacked common sense. And I mean that there were two scenes that I didn't enjoy, and I'm going to be very critical about two things. First of them is the scene between Jaime Lannister and Cersei. So I expect to see Jaime Lannister finally murdering the queen. It was going to be absolutely epic. But no, here is the mountain. Again, the zombie, who doesn't talk and who doesn't do anything at all. This season, Zombie Mountain sucks. He doesn't do anything interesting. He doesn't kill people. Uh, he doesn't rape anyone. He isn't that funny guy that he used to be. He has lost his edge. But the biggest problem is that in that scene, Jamie Lannister and Cersei as two characters were portraying, I don't know, they didn't have any chemistry on screen. I think it was very clingy to listen to them, but I am very happy that Jamie Lannister has finally told Cersei to go to fuck off, and he's traveling to the north right now. One of the best things I want to point out from this final episode is the moment where Jamie Lannister is finally leaving the capital. He's leaving King's Landing, and we can see King's Landing being conquered by the coming winter. So if Ned Stark was here, he would have said, "Winter is here, brace yourselves." But Ned Stark's head was chopped, and Joffrey was using it as a, I don't know. I think Joffrey was playing football with Ned Stark's head. He's that kind of a bastard. Yeah. So I'm going to be critical about the scene between Littlefinger and Sansa, but I don't know how to express it. I don't have words. I mean the dialogue between Littlefinger and Sansa, where I mean the one that they're talking to one another only. They're in their separate chamber of Sansa. Uh, Littlefinger has left off all of his security system. He has unplugged the security system. He has, I don't know, his guard has fallen. And he's talking to Sansa as he's on a tea party or something. This is not classic Littlefinger. This is not the Littlefinger from the books of George Martin. I think George Martin is puking right now. George Martin, if you don't know, just a couple of days ago, said that he doesn't have time to watch the TV show right now. As regards to season 7, George Martin hasn't watched even one episode from season 7. And do you ask yourself the question why? Because season 7 sucks. It sucks balls. Why, you may ask? Because it can't be any more further from the books, and the books are great, and the show sucks. So you may go on and ask me why I'm whining like Theon when they have just cut off his dick. Well, I'm moaning because I'm a huge fan of George Martin's books, and I loved the TV show Game of Thrones until season 5 was over, and it was there were some great episodes from these past 2 seasons, but they're with each and every episode finishing, they're trying to distance themselves from the books, and it's not for good. The one thing that really bothers me is that they have transformed the world of Ice and Fire into a CGI crap show. The world of Ice and Fire is so epic, it's so awesome. Not because we can see great effects, we can see CGI, we can see all that action-packed shit that you can go and watch Fast and Furious or something like that. It's all about the characters. It's all about political scheming. It's all about plotting. It's all about great dialogue. And it's not here, folks. It's not here. It has disappeared. So it has disappeared. And the problem is it's not going to appear just as Slavi Trifonov's hair is never going to grow up. This is the sad truth. So without any more stupid rambling from my side, I'm going to tell you that I enjoyed something else. We can see that Theon, Alfie Allen, is the actor who plays the character of Theon Greyjoy. Theon got 2 great scenes in this episode. The scene with Jon Snow was awesome. because Tyrion is really looking up to Jon because Jon is such an honest, loyal man, and this is awesome because Jon Snow is not only stupid, he is also loyal, and yeah, Theon wants to give credit as where credit is due, and Jon said some logical things too. I loved it when Jon Snow told Theon he encouraged him to go and save his sister instead of mourning like a little girl. And Theon did exactly that. I really, really enjoyed the scene between the fight scene where Theon was battling he was fighting against an Ironborn man, and the Ironborn was manhandling him. He was beating him uh, very, very badly. But then he kicked him in the balls. And why do you do that? Everybody knows, even the little girls who don't know what balls are, really. Even they know that Theon Greyjoy doesn't have a dick. He's like a woman, and you'd want to kick them in the nuts. That's what happens when you kick Theon in the nuts. You get yourself killed. It was it was hilarious. I really enjoyed it. If you pause the TV show in the point where the Ironborn guy hits Theon, kicks him in the balls, and if you pause in that moment, you can see Theon with a giant smirk on his face like that, and he has this crazy look in his face. It was one of the funniest things I have ever seen on TV. And here we are, the death of Littlefinger. I want to talk about that scene, and I will be critical. And I can't say that it wasn't good TV because it was dramatic. But if I didn't know what his character was in the books, that he's one of the best schemers and political figures in all the fantasy classics, not only in the World of Ice and Fire, but in all the fantasy books and TV series that I have watched previously. I would have been very okay with all of that. I would have said, yeah, it was okay, it was interesting, but no, I didn't like it because there were major problems, and I'm going to point out each and every one of them. First and foremost, Littlefinger was very, very uncareful. This was something that's not typical for his character. He wasn't planning um, he wasn't planning on anything. He didn't figure out that he was being played by two little girls, and I think it's out of character for him. And they're trying to completely ruin his character throughout the whole of season 7, and they successfully did so in the TV show. Second problem: Littlefinger isn't a whining and moaning girl, and they portray him as one. He was mourning for his life, and you may argue and say that every man finally gets his boss, and Sansa was Littlefinger's boss that he never managed to slay. But and yeah, you can argue that the teacher was conquered by his student. The student always surpasses his teacher, but this wasn't the case. And I mean, it was the case. The idea, the concept was okay, but the way they played it out was absolute shit. The third very big problem was the fact that they didn't provide any evidence at all. You don't have to know anything about law to understand the basic structure of burden of proof. So you're found innocent. You're found guilty if your guilt is being proved. You're innocent before you have been proved guilty, and this wasn't the case. The only thing that we get to see on screen is Bran telling all of the Northern Lords that Littlefinger has threatened to kill Ned Stark and that he plotted against the Stark children's father. But none of the evidence has been shown. Only a dagger, and yeah, it's true that the dagger is It's his, but this doesn't mean anything at all if you're a Northern Lord and if you're a third party and don't know anything about that shit. So, good news here. I'm going to finish my video with something very positive, in the positive side. I really enjoyed the final scene. I know it was kind of cartoonish. I know that it was very. I don't know how to express it in words verbally, but it was a comedy relief to see how the ice dragon was providing some blue fire. It was hilarious. But it was pretty nice because I have been waiting personally since I read the first book, since I understood the concept of the wall. I have been waiting so long to see the wall finally falling, and seeing that on screen was absolutely epic. I also really enjoyed the Ice Dragon, and I think the Night King riding the dragon, mounting the dragon, he looks like a complete badass, and he's going to murder many people while riding the dragon. And something that I wanna tell those of you, those of the fans that are asking themselves questions about whether Tormund and Beric Dondarrion survived the attack from the White Walkers. Yes, they did. This is my 99% prediction chance, because one of the basic concepts in one of the basic rules in this TV show is that if you don't see a character die on screen, he's probably alive. The one and only the one and only person who can't be put in that category, in that group, is Stannis Baratheon. I still hope that Stannis is alive. In the books, major spoiler, in the books, Stannis is alive, but in the TV show, he's gone for good. So this was my review for the final episode of season 7, and I want to tell you that even though I was very critical throughout the season, and I expressed my concern over the route, the path that the show has taken, I really enjoyed seeing all of that episodes. There was amazing stuff that was going on, some very good acting, and the story has evolved into another level. It has reached new heights. And in season 8, it's all going to be for the Great War. They're all going to be struggling for survival. As Brienne told Jaime Lannister, it's not about honor anymore. It's not about glory. It's all about survival. Survival of the fittest. And right now, the Night King and his White Walkers, the pack of the White Holders, not holders, walkers, sorry, they're the most fit. They're the kings of, they're the predators, the ultimate predators. So it's going to be an epic season 8. I'm expecting great stuff going on in season 8. But right now, I can tell you that this was my final review, because there are no more episodes for season 7. But I'm going to make you a very good promise that I'm going to fulfill. This is not going to be the end of my podcast videos. You're going to see me talk about one of the most intriguing things that I think will be very important going on in season 8. And I can give you a major spoiler. My next video is going to be, in a couple of days, is going to be all about Littlefinger, the character of Littlefinger. So, see you soon, guys. Bye bye.